Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleagues Jim Patterson and Paul Estabrooks. Jim and Paul will be today's presenters and will be discussing implementing strategic portfolio management on the Microsoft platform. This webinar is a new addition to our series of strategic and portfolio management webinars, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to watch the others we have available on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again, and I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thank you, Robert. Welcome, everybody. We're excited to present this topic to you today as a current trend as the analysts are seeing it and as we're seeing in the marketplace in a move towards strategic portfolio management. And we'll talk about how you can execute on that on the Microsoft platform, which many of you are on. So with that, let's get started. So first and foremost, we present on these topics in the portfolio management arena because we have a passion for this. As you can see, we have gold certifications, of which the first one listed is project and portfolio management, which is really our true passion. But we try to get solutions to the customers who in the Microsoft platform, leveraging the aspects of that platform that they are working within. We're pleased to say, just recently we were announced again in 2022 as Microsoft's Global PPM Partner of the Year. And that makes 3 of the last 4 years and a finalist in the year that we didn't. And we're being recognized by them as well as Gartner, Infotech, Scaled Agile Inc., and other organizations for the work that we're doing here, not only from a technology and a solution perspective, but in the thought leadership realms as well. So we're happy to announce this, and we're moving on to do bigger and even better things in the realm of project and portfolio management. Now, the topic here today on strategic portfolio management doesn't begin without us starting with traditional project and portfolio management, where we've been, because that has really moved the ball forward for us over the last couple decades in a lot of organizations to provide benefits on more clarity and consistency on project management activities, make optimize allocations of resource, better visibility and reporting. And some people even dabbled and started in the area of strategic alignment, but we haven't necessarily fully gotten there across the board as a discipline across the organization. So we're not saying today that these disciplines are going away. What we're saying is this new world is augmenting and adding to that and adding other dimensions to this discipline that can benefit organizations and have real tangible outcomes. So what is strategic portfolio management? Well, let's talk to the way the Gartner group defines it. And they define it as a set of business capabilities, processes, and supporting portfolio management technology. And what's different about this? Well, it's because business leaders and enterprise project management offices or program management offices move in SPM, which is the acronym for strategic portfolio management, to support enterprise-wide strategy execution to alignment. Many of our PMOs and organizations up till now have been very departmental or business unit oriented. And the challenge here today is how do we get in lockstep enterprise-wide across the organization? And SPM technology supports the clear definition of both business strategies and desired business outcomes, but then we have to formulate a mapping of these things to the key portfolio elements that embody strategic portfolio management, such as aligning them with business capabilities we have or aspire to, investments, programs, the digital and physical products that are required or associated with those, applications that are required or might need to be updated in order to support these, as well as the projects and initiatives themselves. So a complete SPM solution will capture, define, and prioritize these business strategies, then manage the execution of the initiatives and the projects that support those strategies, and then really is to provide full visibility and management of core IT assets as we strive to achieve on these strategies. And this solution is supporting more than just, say, a PMO. It supports 3 key stakeholder groups: the leadership, who sets the direction with the strategies, the IT management, who owns the critical assets and the infrastructure that are needed, and then the execution teams that are making this happen by delivering the projects and the products that help support these goals. So what are the attributes that define SPM as opposed to PPM? Well, there's 3 key attributes in here. One is that you have portfolio alignment, and we're aligning these different elements in ways that support decision-making and making sure that we're working on the right things. We also make our decisions based on value-driven data, meaning, is it going to provide value to the organization? Does it make sense from a cost and return perspective? Is it going to move the ball forward for the organization, both tangibly, whether it be profitability-wise or achieving the goals, objectives, and strategies that have been set out by leadership? And then we have to have ongoing portfolio flexibility, and we'll talk about that in this digital age. Things are moving too quickly to have a too static type of annual plan, for example, and not waver from that without a lot of gyrations. And the recent Gartner study that cites this shows that organizations that are highly effective at all three attributes are approximately twice as likely to drive positive business outcomes. So there are tangible business benefits to the outcomes. Now, as I said, strategic portfolio management is adding to what we've been doing in traditional project and program management and portfolio management. And it's in the early stages of its life cycle. So there's got a ways to go. And we'll talk about, the organizations that have adopted this. There's still a lot of room for growth here. But it is something that is emerging. It is something that is being adopted and recognized. And in today's environment and landscape, organizations need to do this to stay at the forefront of what their industries need and what their customers want. So in the shift to SPM to help enable more agile organizations, it's driven by the increasing pace of change, which I talked about. And this turbulence creates sometimes an unsustainable strain for organizations. And so the need for this agility will drive leaders to increase adoption of strategic portfolio management concepts, will move them towards more enterprise portfolio management offices, and also change supporting tools and metrics that can support that. Gartner's survey and paper said that only 16% of organizations are highly effective of the three key attributes of strategic portfolio management. And that means there's a lot of room for growth here in our organizations and room for improvement. If we're more fragmented, as we tend to be today, this approach to designing the future of work can lead to excessive cost, doing conflicting priorities, maybe redundant work, and even misaligned goals, working on things that maybe don't contribute directly to where leadership wants to take our organization. So the idea here is we want to make sure that we're embodying these things so that we're moving together as an entire organization towards delivering to our customers, both internal and external. So some predictions made by Gartner is that by 2025, 70% of digital investments will fail to deliver expected business outcomes due to the absence of a strategic portfolio management approach, meaning certain aspects or dimensions will be missed or not taken into consideration. By 2024, half of EPMOs will have the ability to rapidly sense and orchestrate changing conditions and become the central nervous system for the enterprise, because they will be put in place to have a more holistic organizational-wide view of things and have their finger of the pulse of what the demands are, what we're executing on, and how they're doing, and getting that feedback to help that prioritization and selection of our investments. And by 2024, 80% of digital businesses will integrate SPM and execution technologies and adopt new frameworks and standards to achieve their business outcomes. Meaning a lot of the things we're going to show you here today, organizations are going to start moving in this direction more and more. And there's other things here. Another dimension on the side that here is all the talk about, sustainability metrics that organizations are putting into place may come in to the mix as far as a prioritization, a selection, and a metric that's tracked as we manage our portfolios. So in taking action, business leaders or strategic portfolio leaders, should do some of these following things: include enterprise strategy in the prioritization process. If you look at your project portfolio in and of itself as a standalone piece of information and how you might prioritize those projects against one another solely, you may not be making the right decisions in today's reality. To make effective trade-off decisions, you have to factor in the enterprise strategy and whether we should be working on it at all, and where that ranks in leadership's priorities for what we want to do. And we should also expand the influence of the EPMO to review scenarios and trigger actions by anticipating changes impacting the organization, because they are a hub where a lot of this stuff is going to coalesce and come together. And we must resolve emergent business disruptions by investing in the portfolio management technologies, the SPM technologies, and supporting processes so that we can support continuous delivery, especially in the product development type of realm. So it really is about outcomes. Gartner was stating and found in their surveys that organizations that are highly effective at SPM are twice as likely to achieve better business outcomes than those who aren't. So organizations that effectively connect portfolio management to enterprise strategies are over 3 times more likely to achieve the benefits of SPM than those who don't. Organizations that expose dependencies between the work that's being done and the strategic goals significantly increase the likelihood of achieving the benefits of SPM. And as organizations scale in product-centric delivery models, by using the prioritization and reprioritization process that is more flexible and more on demand as needed, can increase your chances of success and benefit by over 2.7 times. And organizations that can dynamically then reallocate resources based on the changing strategies and priorities are 5 times more likely to achieve SPM. So effective use of resources, and scarce resources sometimes, is also a big benefit of doing SPM. Now we're going to talk today about how OnePlan really is strategic portfolio management and really addresses all these different aspects, these 3 key pillars. We have the business leaders who develop the strategy, and there's tools and solutions in here for that. There's the execution leaders that have to manage on that portfolio of projects that ideally is supporting those strategies directly and making sure the organization ends up with the outcomes that they're looking for. And then from a technology perspective, the IT leaders, or even some cases the product leaders, that own the technology and the physical assets that were needed to support and or possibly be modified or modernized or enhanced in order to support getting where we want to be with the strategies. And those things are all factored into the OnePlan solution. So OnePlan really provides overall portfolio management and portfolio planning, which includes what-if scenarios, resource planning, which is overall resource capacity to help us make those shifts as we prioritize, even the financial aspects. Do we have the budgets wherewithal? And are we tracking okay with the spend on those types of things? We also have the execution pieces for those execution leaders, work planning, both in waterfall or agile or in hybrids, that allows us to track all types of work in a holistic portfolio, as well as status reporting that becomes a natural output of the process here rather than something we construct each and every reporting cycle. And then even feedback from the teams, getting that finger on the pulse where the work is actually being performed, to have things like timesheets or a My Work area that all the tasks can be updated in here by the actual performers in the organization on those tasks, and even give insights as to where they stand and what needs correction or what needs attention or what might be falling off the tracks. Now, on top of that, to get that strategic alignment, OnePlan also has capabilities to structure and execute on a strategic plan. So your leaders can actually define, in this case, we're showing objectives and key results type of approach, where the objectives or the strategies are outlined and supporting key results that measure our tangible progress towards achieving those can be managed as a plan in and of itself for leadership. But in addition to that, it can be aligned with the project portfolio that we talked about so that we have good alignment with those, whether it be the objectives or the key results or both, that are aligning with that to make sure that we're justifying the project, that we're prioritizing it properly, and then it's properly contributing towards where leadership wants to go in its strategic plan. So if we talk about extending this, we talked about other entities that we need to align with in this whole strategic portfolio management. And some may call some of these other parts part of an enterprise architecture model. But for example, a business objective or a strategy, this example might be to grow revenue by 15%. And then the key results that are supporting that would be tracked as tangible measures as we're making physical progress towards those key results that support that business objective. And then from an enterprise architecture perspective, there may be business capabilities such as order processing that needs to be factored in or might have to be enhanced or needs to be considered more totally in us being able to succeed in achieving that objective. And then those capabilities may have applications that support them that are critical to that we need to make sure that they're in alignment, and then any impact on those or relationship to those is factored into our decision making and in the way we execute. And then ultimately it comes down to the initiatives, the projects themselves, where we might have a variety of types of projects in different parts of the organization that may relate to one or more or all of these things. And that needs to be factored in as whether or not we can do it, whether or not we can do it now, and where it's prioritized in relation to other efforts that are going on. So these are things that SPM or other dimensions that it factors in that we haven't been necessarily doing in the past. Now, OnePlan does provide the tools for strategic planning, for the enterprise architecture elements that you have to align and associate with, as well as the project portfolio for all the initiatives that are in here as well, and the interrelations between them. Paul's going to show you those today. Now, when we have a less focused strategic and execution model, something like this can result. This is actually something from a client that we worked with when we looked at the different disciplines and then the different parts of the organization. By need and invention, this was the landscape of the number of tools that were being used to drive project and portfolio management. Excel and Jira, Azure DevOps, just PowerPoints, SharePoint, Project, all over the map. And trying to harness this into a cohesive set of information that brings this all together is a highly manual and cumbersome process, and some folks may not get the complete picture at all. We're going to paint a vision for you today with OnePlan where we can actually focus on, not have to abandon all these, but let's select the ones that are really driving value in here, and perhaps in the portfolio management realm especially, be able to leverage OnePlan for those pieces and maybe select the different things in here, like the agile tools we might want to use, maybe the selective use of Microsoft Project and how we use Power BI, but really put some a little more sanity to that proliferation of tools that gets unwieldy and sometimes out of hand in organizations. And OnePlan gives you the ability to do that and align it with that strategy. And we do that by allowing you to integrate and with connectors that we have for other tools like Microsoft Project, like Azure DevOps, like Jira. We're focused here today on this stuff in the Microsoft platform today. So just be aware that these connectors are part of the overall solution. And it's built for the Microsoft cloud such that even though you can use OnePlan directly in the browser, if you have solutions where this can augment and actually be leveraged or consumed within Power Apps, or leveraged or consumed within Teams itself, it is an authorized Microsoft Teams app by Microsoft, to be able to access these OnePlan capabilities right from within Azure DevOps. And the same holds true for Dynamics or for SharePoint. The key is if you have a user base that works in these things primarily, they don't have to leave it. They can stay working in those tools they work in every day and minimize the task switching that has often occurred with going from solution to solution. Ultimately, part of the value of the solution is if you're a Microsoft customer, you get to leverage a good chunk of what you already own. You may own most of that. OnePlan is built for the Microsoft cloud. It leverages your existing Azure Active Directory for authentication. We don't make you have a separate authentication method with us. As I mentioned, it's a Microsoft Teams application so that you can work with it in Teams and use those collaborative and content management capabilities. We have connectors for things like Project and Project for the Web and Planner and Azure DevOps, etc., as well as be able to use OnePlan from within Teams, within Power Apps, within Azure DevOps, within SharePoint, and upcoming within the Viva offering from Microsoft. And we even connect with non-Microsoft software like Jira, ServiceNow, Salesforce, AHA, etc. So the key is we can make use of what you're already using on things that are really adding value and the things you'd like to retain in that portfolio management process. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Paul for a demonstration and show you these things in action.
I'm going to use this demo. I'm going to do a little walk down memory lane maybe to start and then get into the SPM capabilities that we're talking about today. So I created this view, and if you go back, for many of you managing a PMO, go back 5-10 years or maybe even less, and the traditional world would be you managed projects. So that's what you can see here on the screen. I filtered everything else out. So this is a project view. Think of it as a project center view in Project Server or Project Online. And the world was this. We could manage projects. But as things have evolved, a lot more stuff was being done in other tools that weren't just projects. And so the PMO has evolved. Gartner has called that adaptive project management. And what we're talking about today is sort of where that transition's now headed, is how do I take the fact that I can see everything that we need to work on, all these initiatives, regardless of how we choose to execute them and regardless of the tools that the teams want to use, and understand how they relate to the organization so that we can make wiser decisions, so that we can best understand the role that each project plays in ultimately accomplishing the goals of the organization. And so to do that, we've built out these other capabilities. So this is where you'd want to go next. So let me just jump to my objective summary here. You can see it in a board view, obviously, but I want to do it here. Is we can articulate our objectives as an organization. What are we trying to accomplish? And underneath that, what are the key results? What are the things that will tell us we have accomplished them? So if I achieve these key results, then that will result in or confirm for me that the objective has been met because we've met the results we were looking for. So we have that relationship there. I know what my objectives are and I know what my key results are. And if I drill into any one of these just quickly, an objective can be proposed, it could be active, or it could be closed. It could be the one we had last year. Now we're on this year's, which is active, but maybe we've started planning for next year and we've got a whole set that are proposed. So we can have this sort of continuum, and underneath that, obviously the objective can have an owner and all the kinds of information you might want to know. It might be aligned to the strategy of the organization, and then it can have some other things associated with it, most importantly, those key results and so forth, okay? And then underneath that, the key results will drive that, and they have the same sort of UI experience in that we can capture information about the key result, who owns it, and so forth. So that's part of this lens. How do we manage our objectives and our key results as an organization? Second part is, what are the assets of the organization? And let me just go, I'm going to go to all types here so I can look at everything quickly. What are the assets that we have, whether they are products, so we've productized our business, whether they are capabilities, maybe we're talking in terms of value streams, or maybe we're talking in terms of applications, which form parts of the capabilities and so forth. And if I just drill in quickly on one of those, you could see we can capture a host of information here. So I know what I need to accomplish. I know how I'll measure achieving that. Now I can understand what are the assets we have in the architecture that we need to invest in, whether it's add this as a capability, modify it in some way, enhance it, whatever the case may be. And you can see it can have its own governance structure and a bunch of information that we might want to capture. What objectives is it tied to? What capabilities? And what initiatives are touching this particular application? And potentially to what degree, right? So that I have that picture of, I know my objectives, I know my key results, I know the pieces of the architecture that I need to invest in, enhance, add, whatever the case may be. Now, that spawns a set of initiatives. So now when I look at this portfolio that I had up on the screen a few minutes ago, my lens now has some additional information. Is not only can I see all those projects, but if I drill into one and I click through to that associations view, here we are. Now I can understand that this particular initiative is linked to 2 of our objectives. It's tied to 3 specific key results, and we've split its budget, the investment we're making across those 3 key results in that split. It's also assigned to 3 different applications, and portions of its budget are being attributed to those applications to drive a sense, an understanding of total cost of ownership over time. What was the total investment we make? Maybe not the whole project, but a portion of that project resulted in a new component to that account system 3.2. And so we're attributing a portion of the budget so that we have a better picture over time of what that application costs us as an organization. Likewise, we've split it across a couple of products that we have, and we've linked it to a value stream. So now we have a complete understanding of why we are doing this initiative or this project, because what is it going to enable and what parts of our architecture is it going to impact, so that we can best understand that if we make a decision to stop this project, what is its impact all the way back through that matrix, back through that model? What objective will be at risk because we had to stop this project? And it helps us get away from, well, the project's over budget, we need to stop it argument, to say, if it's crucial to a core objective, then we have to find the budget to get it done. We may have to make changes in how we're executing and so forth, but stopping really stops becoming an option. We've got to get it done because it's so essential to key results that we have associated with a key objective. And so to show that, I thought maybe that's a good place to sort of take this conversation, is if I want to look at my project prioritization, but I want to understand it in the context of what apps is each project associated with. Let me just pull that over a little bit. And what objectives is each project associated with? not everything we've associated, but you can start to see that as we make decisions, take this one, for example, that's on hold, well, that's impacting the application that we were just looking at. It's also impacting an objective. If that was our number one objective, we have to get that project off hold. And so we have this immediate understanding of the linkage of how an objective gets accomplished, how we'll know it's accomplished, what pieces of our architecture we have to invest in, and what projects are we doing to accomplish that, to drive those investments. And so as we make decisions as a PMO, we are able to talk the language of strategy for the organization, to understand where do we need to deploy resources, because we know what's important and what is linked to that and how we're going to accomplish it. And we can see that here very quickly. I could turn and say, I want to associate by key results, so I'm going to go grab a key result and say, I'll grab that one, and I know right away, what are the projects that are related to that key result? 2 of them are proposed and 2 are on hold. So if that's crucial to what we need to do, we need to get the proposed ones moving, we get to get the on hold ones off, and then we can start to look at, well, what would have to be stopped or deferred in order to make that happen? But we've elevated the conversation from what are all the projects and who's working on them, to what's all the work we're doing in the organization and who's working on it and where is it and how is it being executed, to what's all the work that we're doing that is enabling the strategy of the organization, and are we doing the right things to accomplish the strategy? This is where the market is going. This is where we are going. We're thrilled to be able to do this on the Microsoft platform. We've got lots of different ways to do this. I'll just quickly grab this one here. This is in Power Apps, and you can see there's those objectives and key results. I won't drive into it in any more detail, but here in the Power Apps platform, the same kind of approach of being able to articulate your objectives and your key results and link that to your organization, to your projects, and ultimately to your architecture. Drive all of the same thing. In this case, do it through this form of the Microsoft platform or in the browser, as I've been showing before. Lots of different ways of approaching it, lots of ways to leverage the investments you've made in your architecture today, but you want to get to a place where you can drive that understanding of why are we working on what we're working on, how does it relate to our strategy, and how do we best execute on that strategy. And with that, Jim, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, terrific. Well, thanks for that great demonstration. Let's summarize and talk about some next steps that you can take. So we talked about today how traditional PPM has provided significant advancements for organizations over the years, and that now SPM is expanding on PPM and adapting for the modern digital business and the modern environment and economic landscape. It also brings together business capabilities, investments, programs, digital and physical products, applications, and projects into the mix as other dimensions to be factored in and considered and associated, as Paul demonstrated. And then SPM drives significant increases in business outcomes. We talked about some of the multipliers of doing these things and what Gartner is finding is resulting for these businesses that do this. Now, OnePlan provides a variety of solution templates for different capabilities and customer needs, but we have all the ones that Paul talked about today for a comprehensive SPM solution. And it really does provide the most complete set of SPM capabilities on the Microsoft platform, as well as integrated with the other solutions and tools, both Microsoft and non-Microsoft alike, as well as Teams for content and collaboration. So you can get there here today by using OnePlan in the Microsoft Cloud. Now, we do these webinars all the time, and our next one for next Thursday at this time is Next Gen PPM on the Microsoft platform, Embrace the Power of Choice. We'll be talking about some of the things on choosing platforms, choosing tools to integrate with, and other aspects of this, and really go into a whole nother set of aspects of the value of moving into a OnePlan solution in the Next Gen PPM on the Microsoft platform. You can trial OnePlan. And we do have a strategic portfolio management trial that's available up on AppSource. So if you go to appsource.com and search on OnePlan, you'll find strategic portfolio management as well as some other templates that might meet your needs, and you can try it out on a free basis. And if you contact us and submit a request for a trial, we're happy to chaperone you and make sure you have a successful outcome with your trial. Special offer, if you're just curious as far as what it would take to get you from where you're at today to into a solution like we showed you here today, we would offer a free roadmap workshop, which is a little bit of a review of your solutions and tools you're using today, assess your current requirements and some of your desired future state, and to determine what that approach might be to get you where you want to go, how to leverage existing tools like we talked about, and see what incremental investment might be needed in order to make that happen for you. So you could try the free trial, you could try the free roadmap workshop, but if you're not quite that far and you want to see more than the generalized demo we gave you here today, reach out to us and we'll schedule a personalized one-on-one demo. We can address your specific pain points, use cases, and other things that you might have in a more personalized basis. You can reach out and schedule that with us at contact@oneplan.ai. You could check out more information about our solutions at www.oneplan.ai. The main thing is that we really would like to engage with you. So don't be bashful. You can either reach out to us at that general contact number, Paul or I. You can reach out to us directly. You will be getting a copy of these slides as you were told in the outset. Then ultimately, we're invested in success. We're invested in our customers' success. And we'd like to thank you for attending here today, but this is just the beginning. Let us know how we can help and achieve the outcomes that we described in this session here today. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.